Hey everyone, this is a clip from a recent episode of Another Pass, where we talk about movies and all the struggles that go into making them. If you like it, check out the whole podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
I did also want to talk about my boy, Ethan Embry, playing Mr. Tobias Player, which he did an interview saying that he believes the character's first name is Tobias because the bass player never gets the name.
And he's credited as TB Player.
Which is amazing. He's like, doesn't he look like a Tobias in that interview? It's so funny. I really love Ethan Embry. It's funny because I actually recommended another movie to Case a couple weeks ago. I'm like, hey, did you guys ever do this movie? And he's like, no, I'd be down. And then I realized, oh, there's like 3 people in this movie that are also in that movie. I was like, and Ethan Embry is also one of those people. I think he's really good, and he's a very, very funny actor. And I don't think he really ever got the shot he deserved. Can't hardly wait.
Oh, I mean, we've talked about it off mic, Can't Hardly Wait, or our love of it. I'm positive. Or we've both said things on podcasts and yelled at each other across the internet. Because Can't Hardly Wait is a movie that I love, and like I fully feel that it was butchered in the edit and should have been like a much bigger like cult classic than it was.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we want to talk about the cast a bit more. I got to talk about Steve Zahn. This movie.
Oh my God.
This movie made me a Steve Zahn fan. I've watched so many bad movies with Steve Zahn in it because of this movie. Because I'm like, well, he was great in That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
I actually tried to make a list of my top 5 favorite Steve Zahn quotes in this movie for this show. I couldn't quite narrow it down because I had like 8. But my top 3 are definitely, as in, I wonder what happened to the Oneaters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not here with these fellas. I got to pick that. So good. And when they're on the radio and guys like, yeah, we're pretty crazy in here. EPA goes, there was this one time where we stayed up way past midnight and he couldn't even finish his own joke.
Yeah.
Right.
Like those 3 right there are just absolutely incredible. The writing where it is very obvious, whoever's responsible for writing his lines, A+, give that person an Oscar, because that was just such great comedic writing. I loved it. And great delivery, of course.
And my understanding is that Zahn was one of the first that they cast. So, like, in a lot of ways, like, the band is, like, kind of being built out. I think it was Zahn and then, Jonathan Jimmy, who plays Jimmy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That those were, like, the first 2, and then they started kind of building out from there. And that dynamic, I think, like, all of a sudden you could see, like, all right, this is how they feel, who they need. Because, like, Zahn just nails that goofball role so well. But he feels like Johnny Storm, you know? Like, it's, like, this perfect, like, he loves fast car music. And like is so excited about everything, but he's also he is kind of like the mortar that keeps everything together in this band, because like he's the one that brings Guy onto it. Like he's the one who vouches for Guy's take on like doing it faster and like and really kind of pushing them forward, like getting them to stop overthinking situations, and often is the one to kind of sort of stop the fights, like it.
Yeah,
you know, for what it's worth.
He's a chaotic mediator.
Yeah, he's Michelangelo.
Yes.
He's definitely the one who seems to have the best relationship with all 3 members of the band.
Yeah.
And like, I think, in my opinion, he's the only one I think is actually friends with the bass player. Like, personally, just from my context, there's not a lot of like text for that, but subtext. I also think he's by far the one that likes Jimmy the most, like, because Jimmy's pretty unlikable. So
yeah.
I mean, not counting Faye, of course. But yeah, he's really integral to it, and I really like Steve Zahn. And again, I reference a lot of other YouTubers and reviewers and stuff constantly. And there's a review of Tall Girl from Netflix by Cosmonaut Marcus. They're talking about her dad, which is played by Steve Zahn, and they're like, this guy, and they don't know who it is, and it broke my heart. I was like, how do the current generation not know who Steve Zahn is? He's just so fun. But anyways, yeah, that's just my thing. But everybody's really good. And I mean, I have to give another shout out to Tom Everett Scott, though, because he should have been so much more, man. He had everything. Like, he had leading man, like, charisma, in my opinion. And I love how weird and awkward he is in this movie.
But also cool. Yeah, like, it's that nice guy cool. And part of it helps that he's just tall. Like, you know, like when he goes to shake someone's hand, you're like, oh yeah, he's got big hands. Like, you can really trust this guy because
he can reach tall shelves.
Yeah. But I totally agree. Like this, I feel like this is the movie that introduced me to him. But then he was in a bunch of stuff like right after that I saw like just going to this whole like he should have been more Dead Man on Campus, an American Werewolf in Paris,
Werewolf in Paris, definitely.
and then weirdly he just like fell into this role of playing like grad students at colleges for a lot. Like he was in Van Wilder.
Yeah.
Like, and which is wild to me that this is like where I first saw him, because like he's like in that he's the youngest that I've ever seen him in this movie, like, you know, give or take. I'm sure there's something that I've seen that was around the same time, but this is the movie I know him best. And he's such a baby face in this movie. And this is where I'm like, wait, but how old are these characters supposed to be? Because he served in the army. So is he like 25?
See, I was always confused by that line when I was stationed in Germany. I was like, was his family stationed? And then I'm like, well, no, his dad runs a furniture store. Why would he be in the... And I was like,
right.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it gives it off this idea that he's much older than the other young men in the van, which is possible. But yeah, that is a very weird line kind of like thrown in there.
Well, and Ethan Embry is so young when this movie was made. He was 17 when they cast him. So I don't know if he had turned 18 by the time they were filming or not, but like just a true child at this point, compared to like, I guess it could be like kind of like a Screech situation on Saved by the Bell. Like they're just, or Dustin Diamond. I mean, like the others are all very like, they're adults.
Yeah.
But they're doing like stuff at like the college. What was they're college girls at the talent show was one of the things they were talking about. Like,
yeah.
They're townies, I guess.
They do all drink alcohol. We know that much. They all drink.
Yeah.
So they're
right.
Unless they're legally drinking, they're all at least 21. So that's good. I mean, like,
or was it 18 at the time?
Was it
in the 60s? I know, because I know it fought back and forth a few times on that one. So
It did.
I don't know. But they do go into more detail that he was in the army in the extended cut. So that is supposed to be the deal. Remember, if you like that clip, check out the podcast. You can find it at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.